You also have the fear factor, right? So when you have a drop in the stock market and everyone's panicking, there's a tendency for that, ask questions later and just sell. And that's why you also see that kind of panic sell off in cryptocurrency.
Gareth, you mentioned a little bit ago that the crypto leverage that we're seeing makes you uneasy. I was speaking with somebody the other day that mentioned that there is a way of trading crypto that had something like 100-to-1 leverage. Does that situation, is that the type of leverage that makes you nervous? And does that start to go away with more regulation in the space?
Yeah, it definitely makes me nervous. Think about, some of these people that are using this type of leverage only have $5,000. When you're levered 100-to-1, think about the percentage move in Bitcoin to wipe out that entire account. It is minuscule in terms of what would have to happen. In fact, it's probably happened already with just the recent volatility in Bitcoin. So yeah, it does make me nervous. Even in the stock market, there's a lot of, 2-to-1 leverage. I think some of the margin levels in the stock market are higher than they've been in history at this point, which is another concerning factor. But certainly anything, even 10-to-1 is extremely that's volatile. That creates major issues. And the problem is that when you just get a little bit of a flush in a Bitcoin or in some cryptocurrencies, it can start to develop into a major decline when there's forced selling because of the over levered position. So it certainly is an issue. If you go back to kind of 2020 or late 2019, the leverage was so little. Bitcoin was trading around 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. No one was talking about it, at least not on TV. And that was the time to look for the upside to begin. Now is the time, in my opinion, where you want to be careful until it flushes that leverage out. And again, it's not to say that longer term, I'm a huge believer, right? A huge believer in cryptocurrency and what it means for the economy and the global picture. But you just gotta let it fall first. You gotta not be a bull or a bear, let it wash out, and then look to buy it on the dips.
So the other part of my question there, Gareth, was as more regulation comes into the crypto space, do we see more of that leverage get flushed out and stop creating all that extreme volatility?
I do think that the more rules that come into the sector, you'll start seeing, especially if you're going to have scenarios where the government starts, FDIC insurance maybe on some of these crypto accounts. Because by the way, that's a huge problem right now is that, I've heard so many stories about people getting phishing attacks where they click on a link and they think they're logging into their crypto account. They're giving away their password. And then before you know it, they basically lose all their funds in their cryptocurrency account. And there's no way to get it back at that point. Again, if it's the fault of the broker, the crypto broker, then you do get it back. But if it's you doing something, you don't, versus a stock account or a savings account where you would get that money back. So, there needs to be these type of things for the confidence to be built into the system. Then I think you will also see the addressing of this leverage. And again, my guess it'll be something like the 4-to-1 for day trading, 2-to-1 for stocks, where the government will say, all right, we got to be more careful here. Again, especially considering if you look at who's taking the leverage, right? It's not someone that has $5 million in their crypto account, right? They're not the ones that are levering 100-to-1. It's the accounts that are $2,000, which generally are the people that probably can't afford to lose that money, right? So again, I think the government needs to come in. It might not be the popular thing, but it'll make for a more secure and more confidence building environment. And eventually, again, I said this before, but investors in crypto should want some sort of regulation, because there is no way pension funds, which have trillions of dollars, will ever touch cryptocurrency until you get some regulation there. And then if they touch it, if they invest in Bitcoin, Bitcoin can be $500,000 or greater in no time at all if you get those type of players to start investing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
So when we see big deleveraging events in the stock market, why do we see Bitcoin suffer alongside it?
So I think Bitcoin does suffer because it's all connected, right? So you have leverage in the stock market. Let's just say I'm levered in the stock market 2-to-1. I am in a stock and it collapses 50%. Oh, I got a margin call. Well, I don't really want to sell that position because as an investor, the tendency is to hope that it's going to bounce back. So what do? Well, you know what? I have positions over in the cryptocurrency market. I'll sell a little Bitcoin and transfer that money into my stock account. So everything is really intertwined in our system with the leverage, and you see money flowing back and forth from stocks to crypto and back and forth. And I think that's why it's all connected. You also have the fear factor, right? So when you have a drop in the stock market and everyone's panicking, there's a tendency for that, ask questions later and just sell. And that's why you also see that kind of panic sell-off in cryptocurrency. What factors do you look at that make you bullish on the long-term viability and real store of value play of Bitcoin? So for this long-term store, number one, I love the fact that Bitcoin has a stated run of 21 million, right? So you want to know that it can't be a fiat currency in terms of just being printed by a government or an entity. And there are, by the way, certain cryptocurrencies that do have unlimited amounts that can be printed over time. I think Dogecoin's the biggest one to me, that every minute 10,000 new Dogecoins are printed. So there's really no difference between that and what the Federal Reserve is doing. So I think you have to look at that. That's the first thing in terms of Bitcoin that I really like as a long-term store. And the second thing is like adoption as a digital gold, to see players like Jack Dorsey, to see Elon Musk, to see other big hedge fund players starting to adopt and starting to talk about it. That's really positive. And again, you're even seeing places like JP Morgan starting to talk it up. You need to see more of that kind of go into the system where people, even average investors, start just associating Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies with a store of safety or a way to protect against government printing of assets. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? And that's why I'm so pro, some regulation. Now, some regulation is key. You don't want them to stifle, but I don't think they will, considering how intertwined crypto is. And I'm talking about the government here in terms of regulation. But, I think I've mentioned before is that Texas now is a huge mining hub for digital assets and Bitcoin. Now there are so many jobs associated with it that it's very unlikely that the government will start saying, okay, we're going to outlaw this, because it just would create a massive issue with unemployment. So that's good. Then you want to see positive regulation where more and more of these big players and companies start saying, okay, we're going to add X amount of percent on our balance sheet of Bitcoin to kind of be the digital gold.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.